relationships and how they can help us to make more savvy decisions when it comes to how we initiate, build, and grow our relationships. And Genevieve, before we dive in, I want to say welcome to the audience, to the people who have already joined us. I see that we have around, there's about 6 of us here right now. We just Hype Kimley Stevens, Nichelle Felton, and Salah Nije. Welcome. Please let this be a robust conversation, an interactive conversation. Please ask a lot of questions. This is no time to be stiff, okay? Let it loose, let it ride. But Genevieve, I would like you to give us a little recap of what we discussed the last time when we came together talking about this very important topic of personality types, because a lot of people are looking for Mr. Right or Mrs. Right, but we're looking for our type, but we haven't taken the time to really study what our type is, which is our type of personality and how our personality impacts our relationship. So Genevieve, just give us a little recap of our last conversation. And I'm asking Genevieve to do this because she is a mental health coach. She's certified in the Maxwell DISC method and definitely has the qualifications to discuss this at length. So go ahead, Genevieve. Go ahead, tell us.
Well, thank you, Angela, and hello, everyone. I would like to welcome especially Kimley and Salah. Salah is in the UK, and I think that it's a big effort to attend this webinar. So thank you to all the audience who attend tonight. Yes, the last time we had the description of the 4 personality, and we see that the DISC is standard for the 4 type of personality: D as dominant, I as influencing, S like steady, and C like compliance or consensuousness. And then we describe the 4 personality and put it in relation with the 5 love language, and how this type of personality could impact the relationship. And we see how the five love language were also important. And according to one personality type, one love language was more appropriate and was more easy to manifest than another one, according to the personality of the person you are dating or your spouse.
So
So
let's
today,
refresh what those 5 love languages are, because I'm not sure that everybody may or may not know what the languages are. Do you remember what they are? I know one of them is acts of service, right? We like when people, that's when you like when people do things for you. You like your
exactly,
husband to get you the coffee, or your boyfriend or your significant other, or just, I have a
right,
friend that if you don't call her on her birthday, she gets really upset. Like if you don't get her a gift,
right,
it really bothers her. For her, that's her love language. So it doesn't even matter if it's a man or not. She's just
right,
big
right,
on remember my birthday and remember to call and remember to get me a gift. What's
right.
another one?
The other one was quality,
Touch,
moment of quality. Yeah.
quality of time, quality time.
Yes, the
Spend some
quality
time. That's
time.
mine. That's mine. Sit down with me and have a soul to soul conversation. Let us connect. Let us go deep. Have some soft music in the background. Let's have hot chocolate. And it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. My husband, I love it when we were dating, we did that a lot. But when I had just my girlfriends, that was my thing. Real conversation, quality time was very important to me. The other one is touch. Some people want to be touched. Is it right?
Mm-hmm.
Affection. My husband loves that. He loves to be touched. And it doesn't have to be sexual, just touch him. um, any other ones that you can think of? For those in the audience, do you know what your love languages are, or do you know what it is for you specifically? Because it's important, again, that we know our type and what we like, so that when we are trying to venture into relationships, we're educated about ourselves, and that's what I found for myself, that the more I get to know myself and invest in the self-development work, the more my the smoother my relationships go, whether it's with my husband, my children, my parents, um,
Exactly.
friends,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, do you know what your love language? You can put in the chat while we continue to explore it. I've
Yes.
even given thought to it. That's another thing. A lot of people haven't even given thought to it. So,
Yes. So we have already said quality time,
uh-huh.
moment of quality. We have already talked about the word of affirmation.
Word of
We have
affirmation.
talked
Tell me something
about
good about myself.
touching,
Mm-hmm.
yes, affection, and we have gift and service.
Gift and service.
Yeah. So gift at the person who likes receive gift and give gift also. They are attached to any kind of symbolic things they receive. So they are
Mm-hmm.
sensitive to that. And some other more to the
One second.
service.
Somebody's saying that the chat is disabled. Jay, would you mind enabling the chat? Kim Lee saying that the chat is not active or it's disabled. Hopefully he can fix that. Or you can do it live if you can ask your question live if you like. Is that possible, Jay? Well, hopefully if he continues to deal with that, we will try to answer momentarily, Kimberly. Thanks for letting us know that. But carry on, Genevieve.
Yeah, so I say that we can talk also about the gift, people who are sensitive to gift, and some other who are sensitive to service. So service is also something that's people who like, they like cooking, cleaning the house, or helping you clean your cars and thing like that helps
And
you
I remember
clean.
you telling us a story about how your husband for Mother's Day, he went and cooked this lavish,
Exact,
lavish
exactly. A
dinner.
very big dinner, and um, and that was great, but it was not actually my love language. So I do appreciate the dinner, but the thing is that I'm more sensitive to gift. So
So our husband probably learned something this Mother's Day, right? That your
yeah,
love language is gift, not to cook me a lavish meal. Even though there are a lot of women who would have loved to know that their husband will make a meal for them, but you're
exactly.
just not that woman.
Or
Um,
clean the house.
clean the house, yeah. Very. And then this whole thing about giving gifts. Some women want too many gifts; they become materialistic. So you have to be careful
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yes, with
I
that.
want you got to give me the Chanel bag, and you got to give me the bling, and this and that. That's overboard. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's important for you to know what your love language is, so that you can identify uh, your needs to somebody else or communicate it to them. Because a lot of times we want people to read our minds in relationships, and I've done this where I think my husband should just know. He doesn't know. He's not a
Mm-hmm.
mind reader. So that's what we covered in the first session when we did this whole thing about love languages. And today we're going to map it over to the personality types, right, Genevieve, and how the love languages and the personality types can work together to help us to enhance our relationship.
Yes. As we say, the love language can be related to the personality type. We have the four personality type. We have the active style, the D and the I who are active style, and we have the passive style. I don't know if we still have
The
the big
chart.
ring and the yes of the disc, and then we can maybe briefly. Uh,
Do you have the chart handy, Jay? If you have the chart handy, can you share it to the screen so people can see the diagram that kind of demonstrates the four personality types? We can tell them verbally in the meantime. The
yes,
first one is dominant. And why don't you
is
tell us what dominant is, Genevieve? Tell the audience
so
what dominant is.
the dominance are described as people who seek controls. Their main strength are administration, leadership, because there are people who are described as very determined, assertive, and even sometimes aggressive. They are active. They are people from the active style. They dislike inefficiency. They don't like indecision. They don't like a lot of talk. They are straightforward. They don't like details. Okay, and they
That
are very
sounds like my husband. He doesn't want to get to the
right.
point. You know,
Get to
he
the
makes
point. Exactly. You can
bam, bam,
describe the
bam.
G. Yeah, that you can describe the G style like this. And when I say the D style, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about someone cannot only be a D, but it's mean that it's the dominant trait. That's mean
Mm.
that when you see the discograph in all the discograph results, some of them has three, like the John Maxwell one, but Vino and Vision have the disc result with two graph. But in any graph, you will have a midline, and where the point where your style uploaded shows if you are a high style or a lower a high D or a low D. The more
So your
you are
point is
high,
that for each style, there is a high point where that's more where
exactly,
you think you are, but that doesn't
exactly,
mean that you're exempt from the other styles. Is that what you're trying to
exactly.
say?
Exactly. This
Okay.
is you see some people with the D point plotted very high on the graph, really
Mm-hmm.
above the midline, and some other will be just around the midline, and some other will be below the midline. That means that it is not their dominant trait. So, but you see some people who may be very high D, those people will present most of the characteristic of what we just said about the D personality. And we have
Okay.
the influencing who are also an active style, but they are active style and people oriented, while the person are active style, but task oriented, result oriented. So they are
Mm.
all active style, but one is more oriented with people, they are sensitive to people. They like human relationship experience. They like listen to people. They like to be around people and like they like to be liked. While the
Mm.
D style are inactive, but they are more task oriented. They are not afraid to be hated. They are not afraid not having friends. They are
Get it done.
definitely, yes, get it done. And if you're not happy, it's not my problem. This is the D style, as long as
Woo.
the work is done and is done well. Generally, they are leaders because they are not afraid to make decision and even sometimes hard decision.
Mm.
Yes, this is, but they are two active style, but oriented differently. Then we
So let me
have the,
ask this question. Let me ask this question. So far we covered the first two personality types, the D and the I. Would you say
mhm.
there's one that's better than the other?
No, not at all, because
Mm.
any style has strength and challenges. When you see the D style, they strength that they are good in leadership, administration, because they are determined people. They can take decision, even hard decision. They can control a situation. They are very effective people, and they are people who can get things done properly.
Mm.
But they challenge, and they, if I can, it's not a weakness, but well, they challenge, and there's improvement zone in the relationship with people. What they have to improve is their ability of dealing with people. This is why
Mm.
the disc is very interesting, because nothing is better than knowing yourself. Because I was publishing a quote that said that um, knowing others is very good, but knowing yourself is enlightenment. Because when you
Right.
know yourself, yes, you can control yourself, you can lead yourself. Because in leadership, we say that the most difficult person to lead is yourself. And when
That's
you
so
have
true.
this result and you know yourself, you know your strength, but you know how to deal with that. You know where you are good. It's increase your self-confidence. But when you know also what is your challenge, you are more able to be careful about that and improve yourself. That's why some people, and most of the time, the leaders, they can take this DISC assessment every year because some of them are in a kind of growth, in a growth
Growth
uh,
process. So they're not
exactly
stagnant.
growth process exactly. So let's say that they make their DISC assessment and see that they are very good in handling tasks, but very poor in relationship. They can work on it and have this DISC assessment maybe in a year or 2 year and see that the DISC change. Okay.
Wow, that's incredible because a lot of times we tend to be of a fixed mindset about our growth. This is the way I am. This is the way I've always been, and
Exactly.
or this is my what's the I'm a Scorpio, I'm a Libra, I'm a Gemini, and therefore
Exactly.
this is the way I am.
Exactly.
It's not
Yes, I'm a
true.
Gemini
We can
person.
change and
Yes.
grow and develop. And so
Exactly.
having that growth mindset is really important to the self development process. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the lower two, the C and the S. Because we said there are four types, right? The D, the I. So
Mhm.
now you can expound on the C now, Genevieve.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have the C. So I didn't talk about the I. The I are people who they are seeking for recognition. So recognition. So they are people who likes to be with other people. They like to be liked, as I just said. So they
Mm-hmm.
are enthusiastic, persuasive. They are generally very good speakers. The best speakers generally are in the I style. They have a high I style. uh, then they but the challenge is that the lack of wisdom. Sometimes they talk too much. They are low in follow through. they are they are low in follow through, and they don't like routine.
The influencing style is low in follow through. They talk too much, but they're usually good
Yeah,
speakers. But
they
they
are
have
very
great
good
relationships.
speaker. They are very enthusiastic. They are influencer. They are people who can influence people. They have influence because they are very people oriented. They are
Got
good
it.
leaders also, yes, and they are spontaneous. They are authentic people generally. So this is the
Authentic.
I style. So the
Okay.
steady the S style and the C style are what we call they are not the S is not active. They are the two passive style. And as the
Mm.
same, you have a passive style, task oriented, and a passive style, people oriented. So the people oriented passive style is the steady person. They are people, they are seeking for acceptance. So that these are the people who always avoid conflict. They are good
Wow.
listeners. They are good teamwork because they can work with people because they have the ability to bring everyone on um, to agree on something. They are very great team worker. They have
Mm.
follow through, but they are oversensitive. That because
Oversensitive.
oversensitive because there are people who are seeking for acceptance. Their main
Okay, so
fear.
let me ask this question. Let me ask
Mhm.
this question. So if we were to turn this conversation on its head now and say, okay, you said that none of these styles are in of themselves better than the other. However,
Exactly.
when it comes to dating and finding your potential mate, or if you're already in a marriage, I'm
Hmm.
compliant and my husband is a high D. How does that work? Like, what could be some of the problems? I'm
Well,
not saying I'm compliant. I'm not really compliant, but I'm just saying if I were
yes.
compliant.
I think that in a relationship, we
Mm-hmm.
we we should aim to be and stay authentic, and we have to find how we will deal with our spouse or partner personality. And the good thing in knowing the different personality type is maybe to help you understand better your partner. Let's say that you have a S partner and you are like a D person, a high D personality. You are very direct and very task oriented, and you are with a very oversensitive person, a slow begin. That's people, they are very cautious. They always do things with a lot of cautious. They need to be encouraged. The
Mm-hmm.
steady style are like this, and you are with a partner or a spouse who is very directive and aggressive. It's not because they are bad. It is their personality type. This is what that this is how they are oriented. How that can do good in some area of life. But when it comes to relationship, I think that it's good when you see that this is your this is the the style of your partner or of your spouse. The most important things, I think, or the first thing that we have to work on seriously in any couple, is communication. It's communication. How to
No,
communicate
we hear
with
this a lot though. This whole thing have the communication. But
exactly.
when somebody has a dominant style and your personality, so no matter how much you try to communicate, sometimes the clash happens, and so I think a lot of grace is needed for each person to have
Mm,
towards the other person,
sure.
because I guess that's part of communication too. Because if you can sit down and say, well, like my husband, for example, we have a business together, and the customer owes, the client owes us money. He'll be like, you know what, if they don't pay the bill, I'm just gonna, take them to court, and I don't have to do business with them again. And I'm thinking, well, I run the sales department, and you can't just decide to like cut off the client because this is how we bring in the revenue. So you see how
Mm-hmm,
we clash, but his role is very important in the business. So what we
mm-hmm,
do is we get together on Sundays, we sit down and we talk about the invoices that are outstanding. And I listen to him go on and on about how much he wants to, like, get rid of this client because
smash them.
they should pay by now, and yeah, and I'm sure they're giving other businesses the money, and I mean real hardcore stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I don't respond to that. What I say is, for example, this week I said, well, you think, what is the possibility of us coming up with a strategy for how we can deal with this client instead of reacting to his woo woo woo? I asked the question. Do you think maybe we can deal with this client in this way? Perhaps this could work. But my inside, what I'm feeling like saying is, you don't know how hard it is to get a client. So how is you going to tell me you're just going to go and get rid of them because they're late? That's how I really feel.
Mhm,
But because I understand that that's not going to get me anywhere, it's just going to create more conflict. I
mhm.
instead go in with a question because I understand his personality type, that I need his role in the business. I don't want him doing that what he's about to do, but his role is very important. I think it's the same thing in other areas of relating to my relationship.
Yeah, what you said is so important that I would like to ask you the question to the audience. What do you think? What do you think that we someone should do in this situation, for example? Because I know that we have people in our audience who really can give us some relevant insight. If yeah, I think that we have Salah. Salah, I think is also uh, if I'm not Salah, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think that Salah is also a coach, is also a disc coach, a disc trainer. And this is a very interesting question. And if I had to answer to this question, I would say what can make a relationship successful is when we use communication with wisdom. Because as we just said, any of the personality type is better than the other. It's how you use your strength in this and this situation and how you avoid it when you know that this is one of your challenge. In
Mm,
this case, personal, especially, I will maybe try to figure it out for this moment and avoid any kind of um, situation where all the relationship with the clients and the direct relation with the client will be held by your husband. You will encourage him taking care of all the tasks show him and encourage him, in all this thing, telling him that he's very good in this and this, and just decide to take care of what is about uh, relationship, clients, and customer service. And
Mm.
in that situation, to discuss with him. And this is where, again, having this disc assessment is very important. I strongly recommend it to anyone. Why? Because what you can explain to someone with words, when it is written, with all the information they got in the disc, the report, the result, they
Mhm.
are just powerful insight.
Uh,
And when what you want to explain to someone is written by an intelligence, artificial intelligence, and showing them their strength and how they can deal with their challenge, how they get improved, it's better.
so what you're recommending is that people take the initiative to actually get an assessment for themselves,
Yes,
right? And you can reach out to us here in the East Peaks platform to get your own assessment done to
this
determine
assessment.
your specific personality type, and then we can walk you through the growth path that would be good for you based on the results
On the
of
result.
this method of the assessment. I think that will be very useful for a lot of us, um, because again, it's an investment in
Exactly.
ourselves. And a lot of times things are going awry in our relationships. I mean, everybody's talking about relationships. If it's not the men and women, I mean, on social media, there's so much conflict and so much about relationships between men and women. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it is because we haven't taken the time to invest in ourselves to know ourselves. I've been married 18
Exactly.
years. I'm telling you, almost
Yep.
18 years. I'm telling you, it is not something to sleep on. This whole idea of investing in yourself and investing
Exactly.
in your growth, investing in understanding your communication style, your personality
Yep.
type, because
Yep.
all these things, even though upfront it doesn't seem like, I don't have the time, I just, I'm too busy. When your
Mm-hmm.
relationships don't work, it leads to poverty
Exactly.
and more poverty. Relationships, the right relationship is everything. It really is.
Exactly.
So
Right.
that's why it's so important to get yourself on a growth trajectory, an intentional uh, process. And the East Speaks platform, that's why we were born, to allow women, especially, to heal, aspire, and grow. And so we say, reach out to us, meet with our team for initial consultation, and let's talk about whether or not, how the growth process could help you. How could growth process not help us? Is the question. How could it not help us? So I'm really excited that we are having this conversation about personality types. Does anyone have any questions that you'd like answered? Please go ahead and post it in the chat. Remember we said we want to have this to be a robust and interactive conversation. Just don't want to sit here and talk, talk, talk. Want to hear from you now. Any questions? Any personality types that you think are there any personality types though, Genevieve, that you think, I mean, I know you said that there's no bad personality type, but do you
Mhm.
think that I think there's some personality types that don't really mesh.
Mhm. Sure.
I mean, they may mesh in some areas, but I mean, in my case, because I am so driven, I could not be with a passive man, like somebody who's just like, well, whatever you think, baby. I could not do that. What do you?
See.
I just can't.
Yes,
While
I
my husband
see.
does get on my nerves sometimes because he's so forceful, I'd rather have that than somebody who's like, well, what do you think? Do you think we should do this, honey? No, please make a decision. I need that.
Yes. And you know what the other interesting thing that you will learn in your disco result is that the personality change are according to the environment in the situation. Some people will be high D in their natural environment when they are in an environment where they feel secure. That's their natural style. And so they will be, for example, a high S when they are in a more oppressive style. So this is why relationship really sometimes can be complex and need. Now most of the time the marriage counselor use the DISC assessment to help
They do.
the two spouse, yes, to understand each other, because it's important. And how knowing your, it can seem like, yes, they just want to sell their things, but it's really, as Angela, you just say, it's a worthy investment, because uh, you deal with communication, with relationship, wherever you are in your personal life, in your professional life, even in your spiritual life. Because let's say that some people will be very directive in their relationship with God, and some other will be more like they will they will wait everything. They will be kind of complaining and sometimes get depressed because they just don't know how to handle sometimes, even though some situation that happen and they may they may end in bad relationship with God because they are not driven person, they are not confident. And this is in their personality. We can see that even in the Bible, God used people according to their personality. Because when it comes to talk to the the Hebrew people, God uses Peter's personality. Because if Peter could make the DISC assessment, I'm sure that Peter is somewhere in the S, in the high S. Okay, he's a teamwork. He's someone who likes to be around people, who's very cautious, and God used him to talk with the Hebrew because the Hebrew were very they didn't like the Christian. They were very suspicious with the Christians. So they need someone who could come uh, and work in the very low pace to get them understand the gospel. While God knew that to be able to discuss with Roma and those big intellectual in Europe, he needs someone who has the same level in knowledge, wisdom, and courage. And he
Mm.
uses Paul, even though Jesus was no longer here. He uses Paul, and he
I
sent
love the way
Paul.
you are tying the scriptures with this method. God uses
Yes.
it this method, or maybe he doesn't have to use this method. He uses it
actually,
without calling it this method, but that's what it is.
in
He
Maxwell,
invented
we
it,
have
right?
a biblical version of the
Uh
disc.
huh.
Yeah, because many Christian has uses the disc to describe some situation and some event and some challenge in the Bible according to the personality. And God uses
Mm.
people like this. God, I'm sure that Peter will fail if he was sent it to the pagan people like the European at this time. But see how Paul uses a small part to, uh, to introduce himself in the community. And at the end of the book of Acts, we see Paul sitting with all the big wise men
Mhm.
in the cycle and discussing about the unknown God. Why?
Mhm.
Because Paul was, I'm sure, a high D and I. He uses any opportunities to influence people, and he was very assertive. This is
That's an
what he,
excellent point.
yeah, this is how he overcome, the all the, how can I say that people were not very open to the gospel
Mhm.
because they were pagan, they were polytheists.
Opposition. All the
Exactly.
opposition.
He overcome the opposition. So it is because
Wow.
of his personality. And God told him, I will only, I just hire you because of these people, actually.
And since we're talking about faithful, single, and struggling, and there are a lot of women in the church who are, they're faithful. They have been going to church. They've been trying to obey
Exactly.
God, and men too. But this platform is mainly for women. He speaks. Um, they're faithful, and they're single, and they're struggling. But part of the struggle is because they have not learned about themselves, their type, and
Exactly.
how to
Right.
communicate effectively. And that is such a big deal because the struggle that we're seeing is pouring out in society. I mean, my husband told me about some stats that he read recently about, I think it's like 80% of the black female, the black households are led by single mothers because of
Oh,
broken homes. 80%. And I'm thinking, do you think that some of that could have been prevented if people understood more this, the importance of knowing their type before they hook up with someone. I'm not saying it's foolproof, but it wouldn't be 80%, right?
mm-hmm.
And forget about, and it's not the black people. Just think about marriage as a whole. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it is failing because again, broken homes, the children who are in distress because their parents are separated. The whole destiny of the child changes because of broken homes, which really at the core is a broken communication,
Yep.
isn't
Communication
it?
and behavior. Communication and behavior. And
Exactly.
actually, DISC is a behavioral analysis.
Hmm.
It's communication and behavior. And I think that people who decide to take the DISC assessment have made the first step in their growth, transformation, and change commitment.
Mm.
Because it starts by this, that you must have an intentional, uh, an intentional growth decision. And the
Yeah.
first
If you're
step
going
will be to assess yourself.
right, right.
And again, the disc gives you powerful information. But what will you do with this information? But if you are really committed to your growth, if you are intentional in your growth, you will use this information and start working on it. Okay.
And what helps is having a coach because I know
Yeah,
for myself, having a coach helps me tremendously because it's the things that I can't see, they see. What if you do it this way? What if you
sure.
try this way? Just being humble and receptive to input in
Yeah,
your life. Because I
sure.
mean, with my own marriage, I've gotten a lot of input. I mean, I still get a lot of input,
Yeah.
but sometimes communication goes sideways, and I'll get help from another Christian woman about, what do you think? How I should have handled this? And this is how I'm feeling, and what would you have done in this? Just getting input, and
Sure.
that's part of the growth journey. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy about this method that I'm learning about. So I just want to say thank you, Genevieve, for that. It's 9:48. Do you have any
Yeah.
last few thoughts or that you want to share?
Yes, I would like to tell to all the ladies who are connected or who will watch this video just after our webinar to think about this. Most of the time, opposite style attract one another. But let's say that as Christian, we're discussing as a single and Christian. If God allows you to be with a man and you discover that you are very different in the style, in the personality style, just think about this thing that maybe God wants to use you in a way in the life of your spouse and
Mm,
use him in your house in your life in some points too, because when the beauty of what disc shows us is that any style has strength and challenges, but when you put them together, they can do amazing things.
That's true. I'm living it, actually. I really am. My husband and I really like a force of nature because, but and it's not because we don't go at it sometimes, but because we recognize the strength of each of our personality types, we've used it and are using it to do amazing things in our family, in business,
Yeah.
in our ministry, because we recognize that, this is a winning duo. And when we have
Hmm.
conflicts, and we've had many, um, we've had many, we find a way to sit down and try to talk it through, and or get help
Yeah,
to air it out, because sometimes you just can't resolve the stuff by yourself, and that's just the truth.
sure. Yes.
I know that for sure. So
Yeah.
I just want to encourage you guys to take this first step in your growth journey. You can reach us, the coaches here at the East Speaks team, at
Yeah.
www.eastspeaks.com. We'd
Yeah.
love to invite you to take the DISC assessment method with Coach Genevieve Queenum right here. She's excellent. And we will catch you in the next episode of Faithful, Single, and Struggling as we continue to dig deeper into this subject matter of personality type. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you,
us.
Ren. Thank you,
Thank you,
Angela.
Coach
Thank you to the
Genevieve.
audience too.
Thank you for Kimberly, Nichelle, Patricia, Sally, Vijay. Did I Sala? Sala? Nice name. So glad to have you here, and we'll
Yeah.
be in touch. And we hope to hear from you. Have a good night.
Have a
Okay?
good
Bye
night,
bye.
everyone. Thank you.